Yes, everybody, welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Or, of course, if you are watching on our growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me from the Smith Center in Chapel Hill, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. Looks like you got somebody shooting behind you too, AJ. It's like
Kerwin.
Okay, I can't tell from
Kerwin getting up some extra shots.
Oh, good to see right there. AJ got a nice spot in the Smith Center. Obviously following Carolina's 74-61 win over Furman. Fifth straight win for the Tar Heels. And another stat to throw in there, fifth straight time Carolina's held their opponent to under 65 points. And that comes after four straight games where their opponents had all scored 80 or more. So another big-time performance from Carolina on the defensive end that kind of culminated in the second half. We'll dive into that a little bit more. But, AJ, I want to talk about Carolina's, dominance down low, for lack of a better word. I thought the Tar Heels were fantastic. 19-0 in second chance points, 44-26 points in the paint, 44-25 rebounding. So Carolina really did well down low. We'll talk about the second half, like I alluded to here in a little bit, but that's where it started. And Furman really just had no answer for the Tar Heels down there.
No, they didn't. And Armando and Hubert said after the game that was obviously they had a huge advantage. They had a huge size advantage, and it paid off in myriad ways. They didn't give up a whole lot of stuff in the paint. Not that Furman's going to try to outscore you in the paint too much, but when they took away the three in the second half, Furman was trying to drive it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. They had a little bit of success every once in a while, but this was more about what Carolina was able to do offensively in the paint. Dawson Garcia getting out of the gate really strong. In fact, Hubert said, there's two straight 20-point games for him. And Hubert said, look, he needs to start games inside and go out. When he starts in the perimeter and tries to be a perimeter guy and then try to go inside, doesn't really have big games. The last two games, he started inside, had more production in the paint, kind of built it out from there, and he's been far more productive. He has 3 20-point games this year, and I think all three of them he had success inside. Even the Purdue game with all their trees, he had not as much success in that game. He had a lot of threes and stuff like that. But the last two games, and I think the way this team needs to be, they need to play inside and move out a little bit more than they have. And when they do that, they're a better team. They're a more efficient team. Everybody is more connected offensively. Then on the glass, they dominated the glass, but they still aren't rebounding enough of their own missed shots. They had 12 offensive rebounds tonight, 33% or so of their missed shots. Last year's team was at around just under 45%. So they want to get that number up there. But this team is really good at scoring points off the offensive rebounds. They had 19 points off those 12 offensive rebounds tonight. And guess what? Furman had none. The last team that didn't score a second chance point in this building or that they played was when Gonzaga was here about this time 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. So 19-0 on the glass, second chance points, huge. Yeah. And that and their dominance inside and their concerted effort to go inside. Hubert said he was really proud of RJ and Caleb for managing the game to get the ball inside. They didn't shoot a lot because the emphasis was get it inside. And I really like how each big had a stretch. Mm-hmm. Dawson, as we said, opened the game, scored their first 9 points. And then Brady had a stretch and caught him. I think Dawson had 11 points like 5 minutes into the game. Yeah. And then about 6 minutes later, Brady had 11 points. Mm-hmm. Armando only had 4 at halftime, but he had a stretch in the second half. They kept going to him. He turned, he scored, he dunked. They were trying to double him. And it was sort of like, Godzilla and all the characters not able to bring down, the guy that goes up to Godzilla and throws the rock at him. They ain't going to do anything. No. And Furman was kind of helpless with Armando's at times. And I really like how Caleb was getting the ball, and he had a couple of no-look passes. Yeah. And because he can score from so many spots on the floor, Furman had to respect that. And that makes him a better passer when he sees stuff and completes the pass. So they were outstanding inside because they had a huge advantage inside, but credit them for taking advantage of it.
Yeah, no doubt. They were big time down low. Just to run through some stats, we already talked about a lot of these guys, but Dawson Garcia, 20 points, led the way for the Tar Heels, 10 rebounds, double-double for him. Armando Bacot, 14 points, 12 rebounds. Brady Manick pitched in 13 and 6. And Caleb Love with a solid game, not putting up as much points as we've seen in recent weeks especially, but 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. So good game for Caleb Love as well. Let's talk about the second half. Because 39-39 at halftime, it was a really tight first half. I thought, Furman played really well in the first half. We're hitting shots, shot 40% for the game. That obviously went down in the second half, but it was a really competitive game in the first half. And but Carolina thought they really turned up the effort on defense. It wasn't great in the first half. I thought they weren't as locked in as we've seen them, like I said, in recent weeks, but that completely shifted. Furman scored just 22 points in the second half, shot just 28.1% from the floor in the second half as well. So that helped. I mean, that was big time for the Tar Heels because it was a tie game at halftime. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, the Heels were hopping out of the gate offensively. A big part was Dawson, but other guys were scoring too. Mm-hmm. But they weren't doing anything defensively. No. Furman attempted 15 threes in the first half. I think they were 8 for 15, and maybe 2 were contested. So even some of the misses were wide open shots. But Carolina totally buckled down defensively in the second half. They shut them down in many respects, made them look uncomfortable. Furman didn't look uncomfortable at all in the first half.
No.
It looked like, hey, this is what we want to do. This is who we are, and we're doing it. In fact, Furman was 9 for its first 12. Carolina was not defending early. So whatever the message was early on, well, playing defense and buckling down and getting the guys' drawers wasn't one of the things that they were executing. But after that, Furman was 15 for 48 after it was 9 for 12. Mm. So even though the game was tied to half, and you thought Carolina might, build a little bit more of a lead at halftime, there were some breakdowns and stuff. 15 for 48 over the last 32 minutes of the game or whatever it was. That's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
That's very good defensively against anybody. And this is a good team. Furman won at Louisville. Mm-hmm. Furman's a program. Their coach is going to get a job somewhere big, and he's going to do well. This is a winning program. They had 3 or 4 straight 21 seasons until the COVID year last year. And if there was a full year, they probably would have won 20. They've been in the NIT. They look to me like this kind of looked like one of those 13 versus 4 games in the first round. And so you get pushed, you get squeezed out of your comfort zone, and you're forced to buckle down and play D and show that you can get stops that lead to baskets. And I don't think that, again, kind of like the Elon game, I don't think Carolina fans are going to march on a couple of days in between games in the NCAA tournament and say, hey, let's go back and watch the Furman game again.
Yeah. No.
I don't think anybody's going to do that, but this club's going to improve in increments. And I do think the way they played defensively tonight and the fact that they have made a little bit of a habit out of being a lot better in the second half than in the first half in a lot of games. So whatever Hubert's saying at halftime, it's registering. So as they continue to layer themselves with who they're going to become, we're seeing some indicators right now that they respond to whatever Hubert says at halftime. They do get better defensively when they need to, and they can actually be very good defensively in stretches when they have to be. They had to be tonight, and it worked. And their work on the glass, they're going inside, and the fact they locked down defensively in the second half are all really good signs. They have to be a lot better this weekend to compete. Yeah. But they did what they had to do tonight.
Definitely. And perfect segue. What I want to talk about next, obviously what this means for the Tar Heels, kind of what's coming up. Obviously a good win, 5th straight win for the Tar Heels. Like I said earlier, too, 5th straight time Carolina's held its opponent to under 65 points as well. So getting better on the defensive side, you're seeing better execution, but it gets a lot tougher this weekend. Facing 4th-ranked UCLA out in Las Vegas on Saturday afternoon tip-off. So I think it's a good win. I think Carolina showed some really positive signs in this game. Once again, I think you can see that they're getting better. I think this Tar Heel team is definitely trending upwards. But, when it comes down to it, this is a UNC team that would love to go to Las Vegas and pick up a signature win against a really good UCLA team. So, AJ, what do you think this win kind of means for the Tar Heels, kind of looking ahead to Saturday in particular?
Yeah, and we're going to do a preview pod when we look ahead to the UCLA game. We're going to record that tomorrow whenever we find a little nook with all the signing day stuff going on. But I think, look, they've won 5 in a row. Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. They've gotten better defensively. A couple of guys in the media asked the questions, how are you guys better now than at Thanksgiving? And they all said defensively, and I think they are. Look at what Brown did in this building, and then look at what these last 3 teams have done. So they're clearly better defensively. I think we kind of know what the rotation is. Hubert was asked about that again tonight. And, when he says a lot of these guys, Kerwin and Justin McCoy, who did not play tonight, and Dontrez and DeMarco, those guys, they're going to need them in games later on. Well, they haven't, the latter 2, they haven't played quality minutes yet as far as when the game is not really in question. So we'll see how they grow in that end. But the core that plays, they've gotten better. I like the fact that Dawson Garcia has consecutive 20-point games. And Hubert said that the emphasis being a little bit more aggressive, a little more assertive, playing inside and going out. So that's an improvement right there. I like the fact that Brady Manick, who has been a high volume scorer at times in his career, when it's not working for him, he keeps shooting, but those are shots that you want him to take because he's going to hit one and then go off for a while, but he doesn't force stuff. So he's playing within the framework. I like the fact that RJ and Caleb were forced into a situation tonight where they had to manage and they had to focus on the bigs because sometimes they get in score mode and that doesn't happen. So that was a good lesson, and there'll be a lot of good stuff on film. So I think the team's gotten better. I think the core that plays has a lot more chemistry. Leaky totally knows his role, and every once in a while he can put the ball in the basket like he did tonight. So they are better. They need to get a lot better. And I think what's interesting is we've seen healthy snippets of really, really good play, encouraging play. And then we've seen stretches that's completely the opposite. So what do they take to the court Saturday in Las Vegas? If any of that negative stuff surfaces for more than a few minutes, it's going to be a rough day for them. Yeah. So you could get away with playing really well for 15 or 20 minutes against Furman and get a win, or against Elon and get a win. You cannot get away with that against UCLA. And if this team wants to become what Hubert says they can become, and that's a national title contender, then they have to show out this weekend. So all that we've seen and all that we've discussed as positives, as they've built through 10 games, that stuff has to be on display this weekend. So we'll see where they are. They're going to get a challenge. It's going to be a very difficult challenge. And like I said, we'll talk a lot more about this in a preview pod that we're going to do tomorrow. But 10 games in, they've gotten better in a lot of different areas. And I think Carolina fans should be pleased with that, but they should also be just cautiously optimistic because there's still a lot of room for growth on this team in every facet of the game, with the exception of maybe perimeter shooting. Yeah. This is a very good perimeter shooting team.
Yeah, really good perimeter shooting team for sure. But yeah, good stuff, AJ. Obviously, AJ will be out in Las Vegas this weekend as well. So for all your coverage from tonight's game, leading up to that, and obviously during the UCLA game on Saturday, keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Signing day tomorrow as well, so keep it locked. A lot of stuff going on tomorrow all day on Wednesday, so keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Link in the description.
I'm not sleeping tonight.
You probably about to say.
By the time I get finished with all this stuff, it'll be like 3 hours, and I gotta get up. So maybe take a power nap, right?
Yeah, maybe hit a 5-hour energy, take a power nap. You'll be good to go, man.
You know I've got those. So I'll be looking real dapper in the video we do tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I love it, man. I love
see all the dark stuff. I won't have eye black on, but it'll look like it.
Hey, signing day's a long day. That's the last thing I'll say about that. But keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com and, of course, our YouTube channel for all that coverage. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.